In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
Hello and welcome back to Do You Even Movie? I am, of course, your host, Henrique Couto, here with Double D, David Dinoyer.
Greetings and happy holidays.
And your what would I call it? Your kind of I can't think of the word now. I was going to give you like a Portuguese name just for today's show.
Just for today's show, yes.
Like an honorarium of a Portuguese name.
Yes.
But I can't remember what is Portuguese for poop.
Oh my God. Wow, we're starting off strong on this one. All right.
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about a film that we discovered in 2020 on Netflix called Just Another Christmas.
Yes, sir.
Gosh, what was the original Portuguese title?
Tudo
bem no Natal que vem.
You did it better than I could.
Yeah, of course I did. Did you not hear the part where I said, I'm your host, Henrique Couto?
Yes, there is that.
Now, I am, full disclosure.
Full disclosure, yes.
I am Portuguese, but I ain't Portuguese like these people. No, I grew up with Spanish.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with Portuguese. So one of the funnest parts of watching this movie is the Portuguese, because it's like Rowdy Roddy Piper. Just when you think you know all the answers, I change the questions.
You're not
That
wrong.
is 100% the way this goes. But no, so this is Just Another Christmas. It's a Netflix original made in Brazil.
Yes.
And this was one that we put on.
Yeah.
And we didn't know it was going to be, we didn't know it was foreign.
Yeah, we didn't know that, yes.
And then when it started up, I didn't know it was Brazilian. I just thought like, oh, I was watching, I was like, well, it's not Mexican. And then I was like, oh, maybe it's like Ecuadorian.
Wasn't it when he cursed that you were like, that's not?
when he said, I think he
said fuck.
He said shit.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you for demonetizing this video.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. This
immediately.
is the first time DV movies cursed. My apologies.
In the first 2 minutes, yeah. But the moment he said a swear word,
Yes.
I was immediately like, oh well, I know Spanish well enough. Like, that's not how you say that in Spanish, which tells you exactly how the level of my Spanish education was.
This is true.
I was taught through swear words.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've got Just Another Christmas, and this was a film that at first came off as kind of, I thought it was going to be a big goof. I thought it was going to be kind of
slapstick comedy.
I thought that the main guy, who is what's the lead actor's name?
Leandro Hassum.
Sure.
I'm going to apologize, dear listeners, right now, right at the top of the show. I'm going to butcher these names. I'm going to butcher these titles. I'm going to butcher these names. There's my apology.
Wow. He said names twice. That's how you know it's going to be really rough. But no, you know, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
My favorite thing was his character. His character's name is Georgie.
Yes.
But it's Jorge.
Yep.
And I remember I turned to Dave, I was like, Dave, what's the main character's name? We were like, Jorge. And I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah, you're
Welcome
right
to Portuguese.
Yep, here we go.
So we put this on, and we thought it was going to be like, because of the lead actor being very funny and very animated.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like it was going to be like a Tim Allen kind of like ridiculous family Christmas
comedy,
kind of thing.
yeah.
And then instead it turned out to be this like heart-wrenching, deeply sentimental story about family and about being present.
Yeah.
And about presents.
And about presents. That is true. Yes.
So I freaking love this movie.
I do too. I mean, when we put it on for the first time, it was, I remember distinctly, I mean, with it being 2020, or it was 2021, I can't remember which year it was.
It was 2020.
Was it 2020?
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
Because it was brand new.
Yeah. So I remember just us, we weren't necessarily not in the spirit that year, but I mean, given, you know, the events of what had happened in 2020, going back to COVID, of course.
The what now?
Christmas, holidays in general that year were pretty tough. And I remember that you and I especially we were in our spirit as much as we could be, but then after we watched this amazing movie, like we just kind of felt, we honestly felt like Ebenezer Scrooge at the end of A Christmas Carol. We're just like, Merry Christmas!
Where I was rich, but also a very insulting caricature of a certain race of people.
God, do you remember when you broke that to me for the first time?
Yeah, well, I don't think we're going to talk about that. Ebenezer Scrooge is a bit of an inappropriate commentary by today's standards.
Just a
smidgen, a skosh. But no, yeah, this one, like, the worst part was, at first, I thought I wasn't in the mood for a subtitle film.
Yeah.
Subtitle lovers, you get nothing but respect from me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just go like, ugh, I've got to read and I've got to watch.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I've become more like, I can read and watch at the same time pretty easily.
No, and I think, honestly, one of the biggest turning points for us with that, especially, was when we saw Parasite in theater.
You mean Parasite?
Parasite. I hate you right now. This is going to break me.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
God.
So, but no, so we watched the film and we were both like deeply moved.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we stuck it out, even though it was subtitles, because the performances are excellent.
Amazing.
And we actually, before the show, we watched the dub of just the trailer.
Yeah.
We never watched it dubbed.
No, we'd never know. You and I don't really watch things dubbed. I mean, we will usually go for you especially will go for like the audio track that's the highest quality on the Blu-ray, or we go with the original presentation of the film. And I've always loved that about watching movies with you.
Is that so?
That's true.
You clearly don't watch Bruce Lee movies with me. I'm like, nope, I remembered this in English.
The only one that we have watched together to this day was when you screened in the backyard Enter the Dragon, when you got your Criterion box.
What about that?
That was the only time that you and I have ever watched a Bruce Lee movie together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You and I have never watched another Bruce Lee movie together. Only Enter the Dragon.
I feel like that sounds wrong.
It's not.
Okay.
I think I may have missed some movie nights where I think you watched Big Boss. I think that was one of the ones you guys put on.
Oh, we watch Return to the Dragon in this house a lot.
Oh, that is a good one.
That's a really good one.
Yes.
Bruce Lee, hell of a director, highly underrated.
And wears a Christmas hat really well, because I've seen them photoshopped on him a couple times.
David, that's not how Photoshop works. No, so we ended up really loving this movie. I can't recommend it enough. I can't recommend giving it a watch enough. So,
well, and I think that's honestly why you were surprised I picked it, was that was when I told you. I was like, I want more people to watch this movie, especially this year, but just in general, because nobody that I've talked about with this movie knows this movie. And I feel like with it being where it is and the availability of it, there's no reason not to.
Yeah, it is readily available.
Yeah. Streaming
on Netflix original.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't even know. Where do we start with a movie we enjoy this
Well,
much?
let's go ahead and get the pertinent deets out of the way. So the director of this is Roberto how do you pronounce it? It's not Santucci, it's
Tucci.
Santucci.
I mean, that's not even necessarily Portuguese pronunciation, but Hey, pal. You're doing great.
Thanks, bud. So he's a pretty well-known director overseas. He's got over.
You mean in South America?
In South America, yes. Sorry. Again, apologizing. But I mean, he has quite a filmography starting in 2000. He's got Ole Movie Cabra de Pesta. Again, I'm just trying.
You're trying, yeah.
Riding High in 2006. Head Over Heels in 2010. He did Till Luck Do Us Part 1, 2, and 3 through the early aughts. And he also had The Beachnickers in 2018, Fenced In 2022. Wow. He's actually worked with the writer of this one a good amount, too. The writer being Paulo Kurisnob. 44 writing credits this gentleman has. Under new management in 2004, SOS Emergencia in 2010, Head Over Heels, Till Luck Do Us Part 1 through 3, The Beachnickers, Fenced In again. And then the cinematographer has also worked with him a couple times. That's Julio Castanti. He was a camera operator on Behind Enemy Lines 2, Axis of Evil in 2006. He did Second Unit on The Edge of Democracy in 2019. Ubachas in 2009, Atlas Aspectivisa in 2017, Call Me Bruno, Defenders of Life. I mean, the guy's got a pretty awesome filmography. All of these guys really started coming up right around 2000 too, from what I noticed. Their filmographies.
Well, that makes sense. And God love you. Bless your heart trying to read all those foreign names.
Oh, we're not done yet.
No, we're not. but yeah. So, quite a team.
Yeah, no, a very good team. And they, like I said, they've worked together a lot with Leandro Hassum, who did in Till Luck Do Us Part in 2012. He did all parts 1, 2, and 3. And he's also been a director on, what is it, the title of it? I didn't, Reporting for Duty. So the main character in this, who is Georgie, he actually has a directorial debut in 2023, Reporting for Duty, which is a series that his wife on the movie returns to as well, which we'll get to. But,
okay, yeah.
Basic plot of the movie from IMDb is stuck in a time loop where it's forever Christmas. A family man who hates the holiday starts to learn valuable lessons about what's important in life. My synopsis is a guy who shares his birthday with Christmas, always grumpy and does not like the holiday, gets a second chance to find out what really matters to him when he has to relive Christmas Eve for about 20 years in a row, but it's actually 20 days in his reality.
My review would be, hey, white boy, cry at this. And I feel that's a fair assessment of David's reaction.
Yeah.
No, this movie, yeah, I've got a lot of positive things to say about it. We just finished rescreening it.
Yeah.
And I had to wipe my tears away and listen to Dave blow his nose.
I have a tissue in my pocket for this recording, specifically for when we get to
You think you're going to cry describing it?
Dude, I already told you when I was telling my mom about it, I did. I went into tears. We'll get to it. Oh my God, we'll get to it. I don't want to, I'm about to cry right now just thinking about it.
Okay. You heard it here first. Guaranteed a cry, kids.
So the cast, like I said, Leandro Hassum, who plays Georgie, and he is also joined by his wife, Laura, in this. Those two are the leads that
Laura.
Laura.
No. Okay, guys, I'm picking on Dave. I gave him the best advice I could before this recording, which was, dude, just say their names in English.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say them in the pronunciations you're comfortable with, because if you sit there and try to nail accent after accent after accent, you're just going to get frustrated.
Yeah.
Especially since this is very much an Inglourious Bastards type situation.
Yeah.
David speaks third most Portuguese in this group. I know what you're thinking. You're like, but there are only two of you. Third most.
But she's played by Elisa Pinheiro, and she was in Os Bochos in 2009, An Extremely Nutty Teacher 2011, My Mom is a Character 2013, The Beachnickers, Head Over Heels, Reporting for Duty. So they've also gone to work together even more and had worked together before this as well.
Well, and I don't know a ton about the Brazilian film world.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's not massive. I'm sure that there's a lot of overlap and a lot of like repeat collaborators and stuff like that.
Yeah, probably. I would honestly agree with that as well. I mean, this movie especially is one that, like we said, took us by storm. But like, even just
took us by storm.
I mean, right?
Is that a saying?
Yes.
About people.
Let me go.
Davidisms.
But no, it completely took us by surprise. Because genuinely, like, this is a reminder that I kind of need through the years as well. I mean, you've been really good about it lately because I've had a lot of family stuff going on that I've been bitching about here and there.
Oh, yeah, I know. Dave is always like, oh, my parents are still together and they're married and they love me. Grumble.
No, that's not what I mean. More so, it's just like, everybody can relate to this movie where it's just you get into that kind of rhythm of, we do look forward to the holidays. I would hope most of us do, but it also gets to a point where it does feel repetitive. And there's some years where it's just like, you don't want to do it. And, I'm not going to miss anything if I skip out on this year. And this movie, even just having now finished it, it's kind of just that reminder of, don't take things for granted. Which
is interesting because, most media tells you do take things for granted.
100%.
It's a very popular concept. No. I mean, the movie is definitely, it's got a lot to say about family. It's got a lot to say about the passing of time.
Yes.
Especially about the passing of time and how it just, it just goes by like a gust of wind.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so go on more about how your mom and dad are still married and they both love you and they care about you so much.
I digress.
But no. The holidays are a challenging time. For everybody. Wait, hold on.
Watch out, guys. It's a hot take.
The holidays are a challenge.
Yeah.
There is a lot of expectation.
Yeah.
And some people, it really gets to them.
It absolutely does.
It starts to break them down because they feel like, well, if I don't nail everything perfectly, I'm doing a bad job.
Yeah.
I find myself personally, I will sometimes get in the trap of where I feel like I'm almost not celebrating hard enough.
I get that.
And that's a really stupid thing.
It is, but I think when it comes down to the point that you and I love Christmas a lot, and we've said this on previous episodes, of course, but it's just like I think we also put pressure on ourselves to make other people get the Christmas spirit if they're not.
I could give a shit.
Got him. That is not true. I know that for a fact.
Enrique is right. And also handsome.
You got to listen to the voice of God on that one.
The voice of God on that one.
No, I mean, I love Christmas. Actually, in my world, Dave, whenever I make a new friend who becomes like a close friend, and they're like, oh, I've never really gotten into Christmas. I'm like, well, good luck with that. It ain't gonna
happen.
You ain't gonna get away with that in my world.
No,
because
not.
I am very infectiously all about Christmas.
Yeah.
I'll admit this. I am an all year round Christmas treer.
He is.
Because one day I stopped denying the reality of the fact that I am an all year round Christmas treer.
Has it been 3 years now?
2.
Okay.
2.
Yeah.
Well, what I used to do was just leave it up a long time.
Yeah.
And people would be like, oh yeah, he's a bachelor, so his Christmas tree is up till March. And I was like, I turn it on and sit and look at it.
Yeah.
I like it. So I leave my Christmas tree up all year long.
Yeah.
It's my house. I can do as
whatever
I please.
you want. Yeah.
And I run Christmas lights outside all year long.
Do.
Now, not a full display.
No.
During the holiday season, I'll have figurines and projector lights and all that stuff. But during the rest of the year, I keep my gutters lit because I love light. I love the Christmas feeling. I know that last time we were talking about a Christmas film on here.
Yeah.
I might have made some people angry by mentioning that Christmas makes people a little kinder, a little nicer. And if you don't think that's true, it's because you're not.
Yeah. I mean, there's no easy way to not say that at that point. But
no, it's very confrontational.
Yeah. I think, though, what honestly goes into it for you and I is just it's a time where we have, traditions that we personally have made in our friendship, but also that we have shared with other people.
Our what now?
Again with
our
this.
What? With the what
again
now?
With this. But we've shared with other people. I mean, your Christmas party was always something that everybody planned for. I mean, we were talking the other day about how you literally passed out lyrics for the 12 Days of Christmas.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. So there's a Tales from the Crypt Christmas album,
That's
right?
That's amazing.
It is wonderful.
In my car right now.
And they have their own version of the 12 Days of Christmas.
Yes.
On the 12th day of Christmas, it's all that stuff. And I put it on the stereo, and I was like, all right, everybody, we're going to sing along. Everybody's chuckling. I'm like, no, I printed the lyrics out. And I handed out copies of the lyrics to everybody so that we could all go 4,000 volts, 3 lethal blows, 2 murderous shoves, and a trip to the mortuary. So, no, I'm as my buddy Andrew calls me, he always references me from Scrooge. He always says, it's my brother, the king of Christmas.
But I mean, you also share the same, I don't want to say hostility towards this statement, but like we love to get people gifts. And the one thing that I hate
hostility, and then it's about gifts. Okay. No, you're right. No, I'm going to listen.
We share this, like we love to get people gifts. Like it does not matter if we don't expect anything. We just love the feeling of being able to do that. And that's why I hate when somebody always is like, well, I didn't get you anything. It's like, you don't have to. Like I'm just giving you.
No, that's when you go, well, come on, Buttercup, the Rite Aid's still open. Get in your goddamn car.
Go.
Yeah, and it's like, but I have no money. It's like, well, sell your beautiful hair to get combs.
Oh my God. But yeah, no, I mean, it's you and I share that same sentiment where it's like, I don't care if I get a gift. I just enjoy the feeling of giving this gift to you and you getting to see you open it and getting to see, just that little lift, even if it's just that small, is just enough for me sometimes to get out of my head and just kind of live in that Christmas spirit that I really do flourish in.
Well,
watch out, guys. It's a hot take.
I think it's better to give than to receive.
Mm-hmm.
I just made that up. And I stand by it.
Yeah.
But no, I think giving gifts, I think as you get older, giving gifts is a massive benefit.
Yeah.
It's something that you look forward to. When you're younger, you look forward to receiving gifts because you don't know any better.
Yeah.
But once you're older, I mean, nothing beats getting your best friend something they really want.
Yeah.
They've been looking forward to, wrapping it up all nice, and then just throwing it at their face as hard as you can.
And cutting their lip with the Tremors TV series box set.
Hey, did you not want it?
I did want it. I just didn't want the blood that came with it to come out of my body.
It was your own blood. Merry Christmas.
That's not a sketch, people. Henrik cut my lip one time by throwing a DVD at me.
I have a rule in my house that if your gift is not breakable, I throw it at you. It's just something I love, okay? But isn't there a movie that we could be talking about?
Okay.
Right now?
So we digress. But no, I mean, I think that's why we love this movie so much. And personally, I love this movie so much is because it is that good reminder. And even, just having watched it, it really did affect on me just like it did the first time. And I mean, that's why I was so happy to pick it, because I want people to find this, and that's why we're going to tell you all about it right now.
Are we?
Oh, we are.
Okay, fine. Well, then whatever. Let's do it.
So I mean, we open with Georgie, who is in bed. His kids run up. Well, okay, he basically gives an explanation at first about how he was born on Christmas. He never really was a fan of anybody that's born on Christmas.
One of my favorite things he says, it's hard to compete with the other person born today. He's like, my much more famous birthday person I share a birthday with. Who can compete with him? And they show a little shot of a baby Jesus.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
But he, he goes through the years that talking about how he's never been a fan of Christmas, and then when he became old enough, he basically started going away from Christmas by taking vacations with his buddies. They'd have drinking, they'd do surfing, they'd hook up with women. I mean, he avoided it completely as much as he could.
Well, and he mentions that everybody who's born on Christmas knows that you don't get as good of a birthday.
Yeah.
If your birthday's on Christmas.
You're competing.
Do you have any buddies whose birthdays are on Christmas?
I have a friend who has a birthday on Christmas, and also my niece, she was born on the 27th, so 2 days after Christmas.
Yeah, she's never gonna have a good Christmas.
No,
because it's gonna be. We thought we'd get you a present for both.
Yeah.
That means you only get one gift.
My sister was very specific on that. Mia gets 2 gifts this year, so I have to give a birthday gift and a Christmas gift.
Well, yeah, you give 2 gifts. You get her something from the gas station.
Yeah, there we go.
Like in Ice Harvest.
Like the Ice Harvest.
And then you get her not hitting her.
My God.
What?
Anyway.
What? The kid's almost won.
Anyway. So Georgie, he keeps going on about how, he avoided Christmas as much as he can. Then he met Laura, and they made a family. So then when you're a family man, you can't avoid Christmas.
Yeah, well, he says I fell in love, got married, and made babies.
Yeah.
And now once you have babies, you can't avoid Christmas anymore.
No.
And which I would say is accurate.
So we wake up with Georgie on 2010 Christmas Eve, and he's in bed with his wife. The kids come in, they're excited, and his wife has errands for him to run. So he's got to go to get a bicycle. He's got to go to the grocery store, and the whole way that we're seeing this, it's super hot for one.
Yeah, because it's Brazil in December, and I'm pretty sure that it's basically summer. In Brazil, because they're on the other side of the equator.
Yep. So it's super hot. So he's stuck in his car while one guy's trying to sell him like this Christmas toy while he's stuck in traffic.
There's a street vendor guy who may or may not just be a homeless man. And he's like sticking himself into the window. Yeah. And he has this little paper house that has a Santa that climbs up the side. And he's like, come on, it's beautiful. Your family would love it. And he rolls up the window and says, I'd rather boil to death in this car.
Yeah. So he also gets back to his house, and there's a guy that's taking donations for the neighborhood. He's throughout the entire film, so we'll get more into him as we go.
And just really quick, and rightfully so, because there's so much to get to.
Yeah.
But you skipped over that he goes to the store.
Oh, yeah.
And like knocks over a giant display of Christmas candy.
Yep.
And makes like every person angry.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. This guy plays. There is, in the early parts of this film, he plays it in no way subtle.
No.
He is just big, bombastic. If you look at the poster for the film, he's like, oh, like he's making like the wacky face, which honestly I think works for the film.
Yeah.
At least to get you there, so that then they can just make you cry.
Exactly. And I mean, we also missed when I say he goes to pick up a bike, he's carrying this bike by himself.
He has like 3 shopping bags and a whole bicycle. Yes. And he's doing it all. And that's one of the other things. He's doing it all by himself. Because his wife is home cooking and his kids are playing. And he's stuck doing all the Christmas shopping, which he hates because he doesn't like Christmas.
No.
even if this is just another Christmas.
Just another Christmas.
But no, and that stuff is so funny because he's stomping around, just being miserable and making other people inconvenienced as well. When he knocks over the big display, I can't remember the name of the type of candy they have in Brazil for Christmas, but he knocks over this incredible display of it. And when everybody's looking at him, he's like, I'm getting one for me and my uncle and my grandma and my mother. He's like, they really like these, you know? And he just like walks away.
So
he
good.
look like an idiot.
But like he's carrying the bike in the parking lot, and it gets to the point where he actually takes it out of the box, puts it into the trunk, runs over the box.
The box doesn't fit in the trunk at all. Yeah, and then he backs over the box, heads back to his neighborhood where we see the guy from his neighbor, what they call neighborhood club, which I'm guessing is some kind of a neighborhood resource for like watching over things and stuff like that.
Yeah, so they're taking donations, so he gives him a donation, he goes back inside, and then later we're in the evening of Christmas Eve, and his mother is on the couch with the kid. Oh wait, let me back up. So his mother
Dave.
Yeah, his mother and his mother-in-law and his uncle come to the door, and she's carrying a salad, and the uncle's carrying this giant hot turkey that he puts into his hands, burns his hands, which becomes again another thing that we see repeatedly.
No, he just hands it, he goes, "Be careful, it's hot."
Yeah.
And he just goes, like walks to the table with it, screaming a little bit. No, and the physical humor is so on point in this movie.
Yeah. So then we meet the great grandfather because the grandmother is sitting on the couch with the photo album with the kids, and they're going through Christmas over the years. And the great grandfather used to be Santa Claus for Christmas, and she goes on this whole monologue about.
I appreciate how you're not trying to say his name.
I can't remember his name.
That's because you looked at it and gave up. It's like God, it's like Dave's just like, that's got an ampersand in it.
Oh my God.
No, it's a I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It's a very traditional Portuguese name. So anyway. She calls him like that said that he believed he was Santa Claus, and it used to be,
the biggest Christmas gift that they could give everybody, and now he's kind of gotten a little senile. He sits in a chair and watches TV.
No, he's not a little senile. He can't talk.
Yeah.
They just park him in front of a TV and play Christmas stuff on it.
So
he's got a big white beard.
Yes.
He's a very Santa-esque looking gentleman. Yeah. And I like that touch. It's an interesting touch.
No, it's a great touch. And not to mention too that Georgie is also playing with the kids, and they've got like reindeer antlers on him. They're riding him around the room, and that's when everybody starts arriving.
And he's just like, please, my back. And then his daughter keeps saying, "Can we watch Shrek the Halls?"
Yeah.
And he's like, later.
She has them literally in the morning when they wake up.
Yeah, she's asking him if they'll watch Shrek the Halls multiple times.
I wonder if that'll come back at all.
No chance.
So then we get to his brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law is kind of down on his luck, but he always has a get-rich scheme that he needs like money for, that he wants to get like a donation for, even though it's not.
and Georgie's response is just like, he just pulls out his checkbook and starts writing.
Ask him how much.
Yeah, he's just like, how much? He's like, whatever fits in your budget. And then he like looks at what he's writing. He's like,
and it is Christmas.
And then he literally goes, I'll write another check.
And he does.
Yeah.
So then we get to Christmas dinner, and there becomes a huge fight between the uncle and one of his sister-in-laws, basically that she has a different boyfriend every time they get together for Christmas.
Yes.
And so then the uncle takes the turkey, walks out the door, and they chase after him for it. Well, then Georgie comes back in saying that he dropped it, it rolled down the street, like giving this whole hilarious story. But while he's been out, they've been trying to figure out who's going to play Santa Claus for the kids this year. So he comes in and gives this whole story about the turkey falling out of his hands and him tripping and all this stuff.
Whoop, 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 whoop. He's like describing it falling, rolling down a hill.
And then they look at him and he's like, what? And then you see him being fitted for the Santa suit.
But I love that their Santa suit is so extra.
Yes.
Like, the beard is glued on. He's got rosy cheeks and everything. And now he's up on the roof. And this is where Dave and I really thought this was going to be like some kind of
a slapstick,
like a Tim Allen style like Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And he's up there and he's pulling on the sack. He flings off of the second story rooftop.
Yeah. Well, because he's supposed to go up there, act like he's dropping the toys in the chimney, and then that's it. Like, he doesn't have to go over the side. He doesn't have to go down the chimney. And even Laura is like walkie-talking him, like, don't climb down. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do this.
I love that when she's walkie-talking him, they're children's because what else would they have?
What would they have?
Yeah, so they're literally like Fisher-Price walkie-talkies.
Yes.
And she's like, don't do it. So when he falls, he would die.
Oh, he would die.
It was like a death fall.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just like, woo.
And so backing up for a second, going back to the grandfather, at one point, Georgie basically says that, like, he can't stand Christmas. He doesn't want to do another Christmas. And
he just wishes this day would be over.
Gone. And the grandfather, who hasn't said a word in we don't know how long, turns his head to him and says, "You will find out," basically.
But in Portuguese.
Yes, in Portuguese. And so when he falls off, that's the end of 2010 Christmas. We wake up the next day, and he wakes up, and the kids are jumping in the bed again. It's Christmas Eve, and he's like, "What? Didn't we just do this? Like, what's going on?"
Yeah, it should be Christmas morning, not Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
yeah.
So then he looks over at his clock, and he sees that it's 2011. So a year has passed now.
No, that's the banner in the.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
that's right. Yeah,
no, the clock just says it's the 24th.
Yeah.
Man, you got to be taking some serious naps if you need a year column on your digital clock.
That is true. This is very true. So he goes to the fridge, and before the previous year, he'd found his birthday cake in it, which she was keeping as a surprise because he doesn't like birthdays and Christmas together, of course. So they had this whole argument about the cake. Well, then she tells him that he's got to go buy a cake, and he's like, "Well, what about the one in the fridge?" So he goes to the fridge, opens it, and then there's just a slab of pizza.
Yeah.
And where the cake was.
And he basically gets the exact same list of things he needs to get done. It's like, go get Uncle Victor a present, go get this present. And that's when he's so confused because it feels like he just did this.
Yeah, and then he goes outside, he goes, and he's like, "Somebody stole my car." And the donation guy rides up, and he's like, "Well, your car's actually right there." And he's like, "No, it wouldn't. I have the key fob here, and if I click it, it would do boop, boop, boop."
Yeah. Yep. He's like, and also find out who parked in my spot. He's like, "It's your car."
It's your car. So that's when he finds out that he's had a raise, and also that the kids are, that he decides that he's basically got Christmas amnesia, and that becomes the theme of the movie, is that he can't remember all the 364 days that have passed. He cannot remember, but he remembers last Christmas. So he's talking to Laura, who's, trying to make sense of what he's saying, and then we see him in the backyard next with the kids with each have a piece of wood.
Yeah, he's like, "Well, if getting hit in the head is what caused this in the first place, I know what'll help." So he's in the backyard with a football helmet on. I love his little kids. They're like under 9 years old each, and they both just have big pieces of wood. They're like, "Okay, Dad." He's like, "Okay, calm down. There's enough for both of you." And the wife is just like,
"Don't let the kids beat you.
They just want to beat you."
Yeah. So doesn't work, of course. And so then the next scene, Laura's catching him up on what's happened. He's got a raise, and she kind of starts to hint that he's stepped a little bit out of his family position. Like he's not around very much. He works too much. They miss him, but they're very proud of him and they're happy for him. So then we go through Christmas again in 2011, and the turkey theft happens again. The fight happens again between family.
Most of the Christmas is exactly the same. Which is his complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so 2012, he goes to sleep. He wakes up, memory loss again. Now it's 2012. And he's like, "What is going on?" He's like, "We just did this literally 2 days ago."
Yeah. And then he's like, "We have to go to a doctor." And she's like, "You've been to a doctor about this." Because when you woke up on the 25th and didn't remember Christmas, we went to a doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Christmas happens again, and this time he's got an oven mitt for the turkey, though. So he's kind of picking up on the fact that he's like, "Okay, well, I remembered this Christmas, so I'm going to have this prepared." There's chaos with the kids again. The turkey theft happens again, and then as everybody's leaving and having a great time, he's just by the door, taking a beer down. So he's still not into this at all.
Well, I mean, he's not even sure it's really happening.
Yeah.
He's still wondering if this is all a head injury induced nightmare or something. And so this time around, he's just kind of going through the motions, drinking his beer, not worrying about much of anything.
Yeah.
And it's about to take a little bit of a dark turn.
Bit of a turn, because he looks over at the grandfather and he's like, "What is going on?" And the grandfather just turns his head and grins again, and it drives him crazy, and he storms off. So then he decides, as he's getting ready for bed, that he's like, "Wait, I have sleeping pills. So I'm just going to put them in my nightstand. When I wake up tomorrow, I'm just going to take one." And he proceeds to do this for 7 years. From 2013 to 2020, he takes a sleeping pill every Christmas Eve.
He takes a bunch of them. Not like a suicide amount.
Yeah.
But he takes a bunch of pills so he can sleep all day.
And Laura's trying to wake him up at one point, because we go through a montage of the Christmases passing, and Laura's always trying to wake him up, and he's not getting up. So 2013 to 2020, he's missed 7 years now. So 2021, he wakes up, and his appearance has changed now. He has a mustache.
He has quite a sad mustache. He looks, early on, Georgie looks like he's got kind of longish hair. He's kind of very youthful looking.
Yeah.
Now he's got a very conservative haircut. He's got this awful mustache. And he really kind of looks like a different person.
He does. And the reason that he's joining Christmas this year is because Laura, he wakes up and reaches for his sleeping pills in his nightstand. They're not there.
Yeah.
Laura's sitting in the chair right next to him, and she's like, we want you to join us for Christmas this year. Like, we miss you.
Yeah.
And so he goes out, and she's telling him about, what's been going on. But then the kids come in the room, and now the kids, of course, are grown up. They're teens. And he's completely moved by, the fact they've grown up. They look great. And he's looking in the mirror, and he's like looking at his wrinkles, and he's like, I need to get bypassed. I hate this mustache. He saves off the mustache. And Laura's filling him in, and she's like, there is one thing I didn't mention. And he goes to lift up his shirt, and he's just got a scar from surgery.
From open heart surgery.
Yeah.
From like a bypass surgery.
2 bypasses.
Yeah. And he's like, ah! Which is horrifying.
Yeah. And she fills him in on Christmas. The same thing basically has still happened, except now that the uncle, since he used to take the turkey, he no longer can bring the turkey. He now brings an apple turnover this year.
Well, of course. And then he says, oh, did you roll it down the hill?
Yeah.
And his uncle just looks at him and goes, you woke up to say that stupid joke?
Stupid thing. So then we get to the brother-in-law, and by this point, the family has been made aware by Laura of his Christmas amnesia, as they call it. So the brother-in-law comes up to him, thinking that he can take advantage of him. He's like, hey man, I paid you that money back. I've never taken any money from you. Actually,
in fact, you owe me money.
You owe me money.
Yeah.
And that's when Georgie's like, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna punch you. I just have Christmas amnesia on all 364 days. I remember Christmas, so therefore I remember every time I've loaned you money. And he's like, but you don't remember if I paid you back
in July.
In July.
I paid you back in July.
So Christmas is just kind of going off without a hitch. Well, then his son comes over to him, and he's like, your phone's ringing. And he's like, well, who is it? And he's like, it's your secretary. And he goes, you better take it quietly because mom doesn't like her. And that's when we unfortunately find out that he is having an affair with his secretary for the last 4 years.
Well, yeah, and she's mad. She wants him to meet her at a bar near their office.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where he finds out they've actually been sneaking around for 4 years.
4 years.
And his wife does not like her.
Yeah.
Of course, she may or may not be aware of the affair.
This is true.
He goes down there. There's a lot of funny stuff that happens, but there's so much that happens in this movie.
Yeah.
So he ends up telling her, like, get away, go away. And he even says, like, because she's all hurt because he's like, I don't know you. I don't remember you. You're not special to me.
Yeah.
And then when she's all offended, he's like, good. And tomorrow, if or the next few days, if I come to you on my hands and knees,
do not take me back.
Don't take me back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where we get the beginning of Georgie's having to combat his everyday self with his Christmas self.
Yes.
Because now we're starting to realize that as he's on autopilot of sorts throughout the whole year, that it's worse than just mustaches and heart attacks.
He has to be caught up every Christmas from this point on about all the horrible things basically that he's done. And that is a kickoff for 2022 Christmas because he goes to bed. But before that, let's go back to 2021. So he goes to bed with Laura, and Laura's not really warm to him. And he's, just checking with her, have I been good to you? I don't remember. And Laura basically tells him, there's no reason to talk about it. You're not going to remember tomorrow. And you can just kind of see that she's aware that something is going on.
Well, and he asks, like, why'd you wake me up? And she's like, I missed you.
I miss you, the old you.
Yeah.
The one day we get the old you, I want that day with you. And so he goes to bed. 2022, he wakes up, and now he's not in his house.
No.
And all of a sudden, he's looking around. And one thing we forgot to mention is towards the beginning, when he's skipping a couple years, there's this horrible painting on the wall that he doesn't like.
Yeah, he's like, what is that ugly thing? And she's like, you bought it. And he's like, I did?
So when he wakes up in this new place, he sees the painting, so he knows, okay, well, clearly I'm supposed to be here. Well, then that's completely revealed as Marcia comes in, his secretary, in lingerie and reindeer antlers with breakfast in bed.
Yep.
And she's basically telling him, we've been together for 4 months living here now, and you left your wife and we're together. We're probably going to get married. And that's when he freaks out. And
I want to mention real quick, just to paint a quick image.
Yeah.
Marcia is kind of like your traditional try-hard Brazilian lady.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a little older. She's had work done. She's got like I don't know how much people know about Brazilian culture, but she's got the big boobs, the big butt. But she's like, it was really good casting. She's not a friggin' model. She's not bad looking, but she's kind of sleazy
Yeah.
looking. And I thought that was really, smart, because it makes it less, it doesn't feel pure. It feels like he wants that hot chick who's like, he thought he could never get.
Yeah.
And so now, sorry.
And I think what I like about Marcia's character too is that even though like she doesn't want him to be around his family, which we'll find out here in a second, she still, lets him go and goes to pick him up and whatnot. Like she still gives him that grant for the time being that we
gives him that grant.
Grants him that motion to go be with his family.
Fair enough. Those are words.
They're words. Like them. Shut up. So she's like, well, wait. If you're not going to listen to me, hear it from yourself. So then she pulls up her phone.
Yes.
And pulls up this video that is Georgie explaining to himself on a script that Marcia has written about his life. And he plays golf.
And the script is like secret. Like he mentioned, he's like, well, Marcia, the doctor said I should tell you this. But the funniest thing is, in this video that's like edited together on the cell phone, he's like playing golf poorly. Everything he's doing is poorly. That's like the best part.
Eating a low-calorie breakfast that he hates.
Oh my God, it literally is a bowl of sand.
Yes.
He's literally eating a bowl of like, she pours in it and it looks like kitty litter almost.
No, it does.
And then like at one point they show them getting into bed together. He's like, you filmed us in bed? She's like, yeah. And it doesn't even look like he enjoys sleep. No. It looks like he's terrified of Marcia.
He's even checking himself under the covers to make sure he's ready when she climbs.
Yeah, he's so scared of her. It's so funny but then when he's talking about this lifestyle that he has, he's like, it's an incredible lifestyle. You're a virile man that women love, and you're successful, and you have lots of money, and you're doing all this. But it's actually kind of looks pathetic. Yeah, and he's not. That's the other weird thing, and this is something I really liked in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You would think, based on the decisions rest of the year, I almost said Jorge.
You almost said Jorge.
Georgie is doing. Yeah. You would think that this guy would be like a real, solid gold asshole. But no, he's just like a nebbish little shithead.
Yeah.
And there is one part where when he's talking about all this stuff about himself, he says something like, I'm kind of conceited.
Yeah.
And Marcia goes, you are a little self-absorbed. Which I thought is just like a little acknowledgement, like you are a little self-absorbed, but
So the video finishes and he can't believe it. So he goes out to his balcony, and in one of the funniest slapstick moments of this film, he literally just throws himself off of it.
It's like Charlie Chaplin.
Yes.
He just slowly, gingerly walks up to the edge of the guardrail and then just whoop, right over. Down. And then we cut to him being her taking him to his family's house.
Yeah.
And as he gets out of the car, he is covered in scratches and bruises. His clothes are all dirty, and his family is just kind of, I would say, like, not necessarily surprised to see him, but also kind of surprised to see him, though.
They're not surprised, but they're not enthused, I would say.
Oh, they're definitely not enthused to see him at all.
We pull up and we see Laura's like decorating the house, so like she's doing it literally the day of, when before it was already done. The son comes out and he's like, you need to borrow some clothes. And so they go inside, and then we immediately cut to Christmas, and it's so quiet. Like it is so quiet. There's really there's people talking, but like no one's talking to him. Everybody's giving the cold shoulder, including his mother-in-law. Like she even says, I hate you.
And that's really wild because most people's mother-in-laws are very kind to them.
Yeah.
I mean, at least according to stand-up comedy.
So, and he makes a comment in regards to them getting ready for dinner about where's Uncle Victor, and you find out that Uncle Victor is passed at this point, and you just get to see that, like, even though, the family is letting him be there, like, nobody really wants him there. And even Laura is saying, that she's got somebody else in her life now, and that, she hates him and she just can't stand the sight of him.
We find out they split up in February.
Yeah.
So it's not new.
No, not new at all.
It's relatively old news, I guess, if you want to say it.
And again, they embrace him because of the Christmas amnesia, because they do know, even though 364 days he's been a shit, that he's still going to be the same Georgie that he was, last Christmas. So there's a really sweet scene at this point too, where his daughter basically is pleading to him that like his wife has not given up on him,
He tells him like she hasn't actually seeing anyone else. She hasn't given up on you.
Yeah.
She still loves you.
No, this is actually a great one because you have the daughter that's being really sweet to him, and then at one point he goes outside to get away from everybody, and his son is out there with his dog.
Yes.
And the son, he's like, so how you doing, son? Like, how's school? And he's like, oh, you won't remember it anyway.
You won't remember. Why tell you? You won't remember. He's like, no, I care.
So his son then tells him that like he's been kicked out of college for drugs.
It was because of drugs. He's like, but it's okay, Dad, because I'm clean now since I did my time. And he's like, you were in prison? And then he's like, were you somebody's bitch? And he's like, Dad, but it's okay because now I'm gonna be a musician,
a Brazilian funk artist.
Yeah, well, he's like, yeah, you played the piano. I did love what you played. He's like, no, I'm a Brazilian funk artist. He starts doing this dance and singing in like a falsetto,
a really
voice.
risque song too.
Yeah, it's like a song about panties dropping and stuff. Yes. And he's just like, and then he's like, oh my God, my son dropped out of college, and then he did drugs, and then he was the little spoon. I love that it's, and then he was the little spoon.
So then his son reveals he's completely fucking with him.
Dad, I'm just kidding. I got my diploma in the summer.
Yeah. And so that's when he goes up to the daughter's room, and she's like, Mom still loves you. Don't give up on her. And at this point, Christmas is kind of over. So he goes up because Marcia pulls up. And this is one thing I pointed out to you. There's only one time in this film that it rains. And this particular scene, it's raining outside. So he goes out to...
It would be weird if it was raining inside.
Yes. So it's raining, and Marcia pulls up, and she calls to him. So he goes out to go to the car, but then... he turns around, rushes back to Laura, gives her a big kiss, and says, basically, don't give up on me.
Yeah, he says, don't give up on us.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is where the movie took a turn I was not expecting.
Yeah.
Because the whole kiss and don't give up on us thing, it seems like at this point, you pretty much, it's just autopilot. Autopilot, Georgie is a bad dude.
Yeah.
He's going to keep making these mistakes. But then... he goes back to Marcia's. She reluctantly puts him to bed on the couch because she's mad at him for kissing his ex-wife.
Yep.
And she's like, well, tomorrow you claim you won't remember. That's the other thing that's important to keep in mind. The one real blessing is his wife and his 2 kids know that it's real.
Yeah.
And that's really important. That's why they're kinder to him.
Yes.
Even though they're mad at him, it's like they do know that he literally doesn't know.
Yeah.
Other family members are more skeptical.
Yeah.
Marcia, very skeptical
Yeah.
of the idea that he's forgetting things.
Well, and Marcia even threatens him, basically saying that like, you wanted to spend Christmas abroad, and I talked you out of it. But next year, I might just do that because now he's not going to have any control for the next 364 days.
Yes,
So-
yes, she tells him, well, maybe won't be around so you can't see your family at all.
Yeah.
Also should mention both times he shaves his mustache off.
Yes, he does. Yeah, I mean, at one point he has half of it.
He's like, I can't believe you threw my razor out the window, and then he turns and you just see the other half. And the other thing is she points out, she's like, I love that mustache.
Yeah.
Which is just, again, about him being like a total like pathetic pushover nincompoop. It's like, really, your secretary that you fell in love with is the reason you have a mustache?
Yeah.
Homie. Like, as the lifestyle guide of Do You Even movie.
Oh my, carrying over, are we?
I just want to say, Kings, your facial hair is yours to do with as you please. Love yourself, and maybe the ladies will. Or maybe they won't.
We shall
Or
see.
maybe the fellas will. We're very forward thinking here at Do You Even movie.
This is true. So she threatens him that, next year we'll spend Christmas abroad. So he goes to bed and he wakes up and he's on some tropical island. They're in a resort. And
yeah, it's a resort, like one of those bungalows that's on the water. Yeah.
And he starts freaking out. He goes into his room. He starts packing stuff up. He's like, Marcia, you're not going to keep me away from my family. And by this point, we haven't seen anybody. We just know
he
somebody's
just woke
in the shower.
up by himself. Yeah.
Yeah, and somebody's in the shower. So he's packing his bags. And then behind him, Laura walks out, revealing that they've gotten back together.
Yes.
And it is one of the sweetest moments because you get to see them spend a Christmas abroad. They're having drinks together and they're talking. And she asks him, where would you like to go next year? And he goes, surprise me. So then we're treated to a montage for about 4 years in a row where he wakes up in Paris. They wake up. They're in Moscow. They're in Alaska at one point, and so they're spending Christmases abroad for about 3 or 4 years.
And she mentions, I mean, the kids are grown at this point, so like. Their son was already in Australia. Yeah. Their daughter was with her boyfriend. But then sometimes they're still together there with them too.
Because the way they show the montage is he's posting on social media, so you can see like they're at the Eiffel Tower at one point and all this. Like it's just really sweet because you kind of get to see the family bond get built back up.
Yeah, and she mentions that the way that they got back together was she called him every day for a month. God. And that's one thing. That's another thing worth pointing out, Dave. She says she calls him every day for a month, and that's how they began to reconcile.
Rekindle, yeah.
So they reconcile. that means that Georgie's, he's in there.
Yeah.
Because if Georgie was just this like evil actor, then he wouldn't care if she called every day because he'd be like, I've got Marcia. But no, it was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
He was just, it was almost like he was just, his head was in the sand. He couldn't hear. So she took the initiative and busted through, which suggests that the person Georgie is on Christmas is actually who he is inside as well.
Yeah.
And now we're treated to this montage. We're treated to his family being closer and closer. We're treated to his daughter having a child and him becoming a grandpa, and the emotions of like, oh my God, I'm a grandpa. Like, this is amazing. And the way they age Georgie is very well done.
Yeah.
They actually, not only do they give him a little old age makeup or whatever, they actually thin his hair and gray some of it. They really do a great job of making him look like he's aging gracefully.
Yeah.
But there's one part that really clicked with me was when he's talking to his daughter after, you know, she has a new baby and everything.
Yeah.
He asks her, he's like, am I good to you? Like the rest of the time?
Yeah.
Like, are we good? Do we talk? And she like looks at him and you think it might be sad. And then she says, we talk every day.
Yeah.
And she's like, you especially call me like when you're traveling abroad for work, you're always talking to me. No, we're awesome.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, I would never have predicted that the reconciliation was going to happen without some kind of another magical thing happening or the curse or whatever you want to call it being reversed.
Being reversed. Yeah.
But without that happening, he's managed to turn his family around by, I guess, saying what he really feels, which is kind of the beginning of this film's emotional center.
Yeah, absolutely.
The idea that at Christmas, we kind of stop and we kind of let go of other things and we kind of think about what we really think and feel.
Yeah.
Which is what I got from that element. The idea that like, even though he's literally not the same person necessarily on Christmas, he kind of is.
He kind of is, yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting move.
It absolutely is. And I think where we get to in what I wrote down as Christmas 2027 is what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So as Enrique mentioned, his daughter has a baby, and the way that they reveal this is so awesome is he wakes up expecting to be abroad again, and he's back home. And he goes to Laura, and he's like, you know what? And she's closing a door, and he's like, why are we? And she's like, shh. And he's like, well, why are we here? And she's like, well, come here, I'll show you.
Yeah.
And they open the door, and there's the daughter with her baby, and it's super sweet. And she reveals that they named him Victor, which is a pretty funny scene because he goes back and forth of why he's named.
Yeah, he's like, oh, after Uncle Victor. She's like, no, after Grandpa. He's like, Grandpa's name is Victor?
Yeah.
And then I can only guess it's a cultural joke because he's like, Grandpa's name should be like Moro.
Moro.
I don't have, I don't, nothing against any Moros listening, but that's what he said. He was like, I thought his name should be Moro.
Yeah.
So also worth mentioning when he wakes up with the mustache, I almost forgot that he says, I'm a Super Mario brother.
Super Mario brother.
So now
he goes, we're going through the Christmas Eve day, and we get to a hilarious point where he's petting the dog Roy, and he's like, you know, man, Roy, how old are you? You got to be like 30 now. And
he's like the Highlander of dogs.
Highlander of dogs. I love that line.
That sounds like something we're riffing.
Yeah.
No, he says you're like the Highlander of dogs. And I want to point out as a dog lover myself, that is a, see, I lost the name of it. The breed of dog.
Oh, Saint Bernard? Or no, not Saint Bernard.
It's a very similar to a Saint Bernard.
It's not a Beethoven. It's
not a Beethoven.
That's Saint Bernard. Yes.
It's a something mountain dog.
Yeah.
A Bernese mountain dog.
Bernese mountain dog. Yeah.
They do not live long.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you get 9 or 10 years. You usually get 8 out of a Bernese mountain dog. So that's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Continue, W.
So he's like, so how old is it? And Laura is just
30.
She's just holding back. She's like, there's something I haven't told you. And she's like, you know, that's not the original Roy. That's a puppy of Roy, but that's not.
It's a different Roy. And he's like, so this is Roy Jr. And she's like, actually,
Roy
it's more of it's Roy number 3. But it's Roy number 2's puppy.
Puppy, yeah.
And then he's like, you really just lied to me and switched my dog with another dog that looked the same? And she's like, well, we didn't have the heart to tell you. Yeah.
So the Christmas this time is a little more subdued. You know, he's playing with his grandchild. It's super sweet. And the whole movie, he's been talking on the phone with his dad. And his dad has not shown up yet. And same thing, he's like, since you've got different Georgie this year, who's way more positive family influence, he's like, I sent you a ticket. Where are you? And he's like, I can't make it down this year. And he's like, well, I really want you to come down next year.
And they're all... But the brightness, the cheeriness is so massive right here. Everybody's having a great time. And then, Dave, one of the funnest parts, no. What's better than when the family all gathers around the Christmas tree?
Yeah.
They all hug. They're all excited for the picture.
Actually, wait, stop for a second. Because we missed the brother-in-law.
Oh, that he became rich.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a great twist that I love in this movie.
So the brother-in-law pulls up because Georgie and his son are outside, and the brother-in-law pulls up and he's in a nice car and he's like, oh my God, I guess the neighbors are moving up. And he's like, actually, that's the uncle. So the uncle gets out and he's like, I want to pay you back for everything you've done. I appreciate it. I made it rich. Like I'm good now. So he's like, I want to give you what you've paid me with interest.
Yeah. He writes him a check.
And just at this point, the neighborhood donation guy pulls up and he's like, Merry Christmas, here, I'm going to give you something special, take your family out, have a great Christmas.
And the guy's like, oh, thank you so much. He's like, yeah, treat yourself. Yeah.
And the brother-in-law's like, Georgie, and he's like, it's fine, Christmas spirit. And even the son is like, Dad,
Dad, what are you doing?
So the guy rides off and the brother-in-law looks at him and goes, that was a check for $1 million. And he's like, well, it was made out to me, right?
He's
like, cash. So then he
no,
shakes his
come back.
And the guy's like stomping on his bike. He doesn't care. And then he sees Georgie running at him and he's like, oh shit. And he starts running off.
Okay, so
there we go. Yeah.
So back to the laughs.
Yeah.
So now, Dave, it's all charming. So the family gets together for their photograph.
Laura calls together for a family photo.
And as they're all putting their arms together and having a nice time, Georgie accidentally bumps his daughter's hair.
Yeah.
And she has a little bandana on.
Yeah.
And reveals that she's wearing a wig.
Yeah. And she's bald.
She is not just bald. She has zero hair on her head.
Yeah.
And that's when we find out that they had, as a family, decided to spare Christmas Georgie, knowing that she has cancer.
Breast cancer,
which is late stage breast cancer.
She says, she even mentions, we didn't catch it early enough.
She says, I should have done something sooner. I didn't. And then his immediate reaction is like my mother.
Yeah.
Because his mother, and that's when we finally find out that his mother's gone.
Yeah.
And that his father has just been nowhere to be found since his mother passed.
Yeah. So the next scene they cut to is Georgie and his daughter and the baby, and they're talking, and that's when she reveals the breast cancer and the stage it's at, and she ends the conversation by saying, I'm tired, like I kind of want to go to sleep, and
he's like, no.
Immediately he starts crying, and he's like, no, like we're not doing that.
And then she remembers that going to sleep will make him go away.
Yeah. So then
she's like, of course not. Oh, Dave's crying. Dave's crying.
Yep. So then,
please, no, David.
So then she asked him what would he like to do, and it cuts to him opening a drawer, and he takes out a DVD of Shrek the Halls. Take it for a second.
No. Everybody look at David. Look at him. Look at the crybaby. No, he pulls out a copy of Shrek the Halls, and they lay on the couch together. And they watch it together, something he's been putting off for 20 years.
Yeah.
And she falls asleep in his arms. And my favorite part of that scene is his eyes just get heavier.
He fights it.
And heavier because he doesn't want that moment to end, because he knows that, he knows that there's a really good chance that things will not
be the same next year.
Yeah.
So he falls asleep finally, and we are at Christmas 2028 at this point, and he wakes up, and there's a Post-it on his lamp with a bottle of sleeping pills, and it says, we'll understand if you don't want to come down, revealing that she's passed.
Well, one of the kinder things the film does.
Yeah.
Is he walks out, and he finds his wife on the floor with his grandkid,
which they have a room in the house for, so they're taking care of him,
and she's just loving on him.
Yeah.
And he comes, and they just kind of nod to each other, knowing what happened, and then he joins her to help the kid.
Gets on the floor with the kid, starts playing with him. We're back at Christmas, and it's definitely a subdued Christmas this year for obvious reasons.
It's not just another Christmas?
Not just another Christmas. So he's playing with the kid, and it's a quiet Christmas, and then all of a sudden the doorbell rings, and the wife's like, can you get that? And he goes to the door, and this guy goes, is this Georgie's house? And it reveals that it's his father.
It's his dad, being a prick and be like, is this where Georgie lives?
So he invites his dad in, and, they're having a great Christmas, and that's when his dad is, telling him basically in the simplest terms that life is so quick by going,
yeah, they're speaking poetically, and he says, Georgie, life is like, because, Georgie explains, like, I feel like my life is going by so fast because I'm, like, never there. I'm only here for these little moments, and then I realize everything's gone and things are moving so fast. And he goes, well, Georgie, I don't have Christmas time amnesia or anything, but I feel the same.
Yeah.
Life is like a sudden breeze, and then he goes, and then Georgie goes back to him.
Yeah.
And that's a really beautiful moment, and a moment that really kind of ties together the main point of the film.
Yeah.
So now Georgie's having this, this special night. He's so happy to be with his dad. His dad also reveals that the reason he didn't see him on his birthday was that he could not stand Christmas after his wife died.
Passed, yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Because he compares it to Laura's love for Christmas. He said, she loved Christmas just like your wife did. And just at that point, Laura calls him into the kitchen. And as his dad walks off, Georgie just like sits with himself and goes out loud, I could have done things better. And at this point, the grandfather turns to him, which again, he hasn't said anything except the initial comment the entire film. And he goes, make a wish. And then he turns back and Georgie's like, the hell did you just say? Did you talk again?
Did you just talk again? What do you mean?
And then at this point, we see that the family's gotten him a birthday cake, and they come in and they're singing him happy birthday. And he's like, I don't want any of this. And Laura goes, well, this is what Anna would have loved. And he goes, yeah, but I don't want it. And his mother-in-law goes, Georgie, make a wish. You can make a wish. And he looks back at the grandfather, and she's like, he never makes wishes. He doesn't believe in them. He doesn't
believe in that kind of thing.
And so then he turns back and blows out the candles, and they're like, what'd you wish for? And the mother-in-law goes, we can't tell you that.
We can't tell you, or it won't come true.
Yeah. So then he goes to bed, wakes up, and now we are back to 2010 Christmas, and the kids run in.
Oh, no.
What?
You are not allowed to go over that quickly.
Oh, okay.
He wakes up before everybody.
Oh, that's right.
And then he looks over, and he sees his little girl.
Yep. She comes in the room.
She's 7 years old again.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets in the bed, all excited to see her dad. And the first thing he does is he touches her hair.
Yep. I was completely composed, and now I'm not again.
No, it's a wonderful moment. The movie's just so good.
It is so good.
It's just so well thought out, so well written, so well performed.
Yeah.
And then she asks him if they can watch Shrek the Halls, and he says, we can watch anything you want
right now.
and then the son comes in and the mother wakes up.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a thing where instead of the day being like it had been before, he's like, let's all go to the grocery store. Let's all go shop for our
breakfast.
Gifts. Let's all go do all this together.
Yeah.
Let's go get French toast.
Yeah.
Let's do all this. And they're in the car, and now all of a sudden, that exact same hot, humid, miserable, busy, crowded, stressful day is freaking great. It's a great day.
It is, because the guy that was peddling the Santa comes up before, and he buys the toy, and they're playing with it in the car, and you just see them walking out together, like they're riding the bike out or rolling the bike out. It's not in the box. They're all happy. And even more so than that, he's back in the kitchen. They're getting ready for Christmas, and there's a breast cancer awareness.
A breast awareness
That's
called
flyer.
A pornography magazine, David.
A breast cancer awareness flyer, and he puts it in their mail to go through. And then, you get to see the Christmas happen again. He's embracing his Santa Claus. He's dancing on the roof. They're having a great time. Dinner goes off without a hitch. And they get to celebrate his birthday, and everything is great. And he ends the movie by basically saying, Christmas is not about, what everybody thinks it is in regards to the time of year. It's about being together, living in the moment, and just enjoying everybody being there and your time that you have.
Yes. And as a final gag to make sure that you remember this is a comedy movie.
Yeah, no shit.
As a final gag, the grandpa turns and smiles. And does he say, I can't remember, does he say something? I can't remember.
Winks. No, he just winks.
He winks.
Yeah.
And then Georgie jumps in front of him, jumps right in front of the camera and goes, "Did you see that?
He moved.
He moved." And then it ends. The movie goes to credits, and that
is
my
just
dear friends,
another Christmas.
No, it isn't. It's more than that, David. Didn't you learn anything from the tears?
I learned so much. Final thoughts on this, Henrique.
Are you kidding? Christ, are you kidding? Do you have any idea how totally fucked it was that you made me watch this movie after spending a whole year at cancer doctors for my dog?
Yeah.
And I know it's dog, it's not your daughter, but fuck you. You know what? You want to make a room dead quiet?
Okay, go ahead.
No, you want to make a room dead quiet? Just hang out with some people and be like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Oh, shoot. No, I have an oncology appointment that day. Yeah. No, it's great. It's great.
I can imagine.
So, no, but my point is, when I also just went through a loss in my family, and the fact is, these are the things you think about when you're doing things like talking to cancer doctors all the time and spending time at funerals and things like that. You think about how much time you have, but more importantly, how you spend that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can tell you right now, I'm a person who does not believe in having a lot of regrets, but if I had one regret in life, it would be that there were so many times I took those holiday dinners for granted.
Yeah.
There were so many times that I was like, I'm tired. I'd rather just lay around and my mom will bring me leftovers. And I there were 2 times when I was a teenager, I didn't go to my Aunt Betty's.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
I would give anything to sit at that table one more time.
Yeah. This movie is such a great reminder of what really does matter, especially during this time of year, but just all 364 other days too. I mean, you can't.
You forgot leap year.
For my apologies. You can't take things for granted. You can't just assume that it's going to be the exact same or that it's not going to matter because of the time that you're just living in and your mindset of it. You have to break out of those mindsets and you have to look at the big picture of it all. And I'm a very big family person. I have many holiday memories with family and
show off.
there have been times, just like Henrique, where I didn't want to go to the Christmas party, or I gave the briefest appearance I could because I could drive at that point. So I went in for 20 minutes, ate some food, and fucked off. And
which was the kindest gift you can give.
Kindest gift I could give anybody. But I have those regrets too. And watching this movie, not to get too personal, but it's like I've got a very big December still to go on with this, because my sister is actually getting married at the end of this December, and Henrique can tell you I've been kind of complaining about that. And this movie really kind of made me reassess my mindset's been lately on that, and just in general of the holidays. And now I can't freaking wait to have Christmas Eve with my sister and her fiance and my family and watch them get married and see my niece. Like I needed this, and I think that's one of the reasons I absolutely picked it, is because this is such a great movie, but also a great reminder movie that
you're gonna cry, baby.
You just don't know. You just don't know what the time you have right now means until you don't.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely accurate. I mean, a lot of the best Christmas movies tell basically this story about what is the holiday really? The holiday is about the people you spend it with. It's not about the food you eat. It's not about the places you go. It's not even about the movies you watch.
No.
It's about the person you are and the people you're with that make all the difference. And I'm a very sentimental fool.
Yes.
I am not afraid to get too personal.
Yes.
I have many times with love taunted you because, well, I taunt you all the time, but have taunted you because you'll complain about something. I'm like, must be so hard. Oh, you have this huge family and they all want you to be somewhere.
Yeah.
While I'm just an orphan, basically, I have nobody in the world.
You always have a seat at our table, buddy.
Your family tells me that, but that's your seat. So no, I'll never forget the first time I hung out with your dad when we went to the sushi restaurant.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And you had to go to the bathroom, and he came over and he went, "Anytime you want to be my son instead, say the word, he's dead."
Thanks.
So
thanks for telling me that now.
No, but I am not even mad that sometimes I need to remind you have a really nice family and you're really fortunate.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I sincerely cannot express how much I appreciate that. And, it's funny that even with our love of bonding over films like this, we can combine those two together to have those reminders. And I've always kind of loved that about how deeply we can get into films of this degree.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't forget like a lot of people do, but I have what's called a crippling anxiety disorder. So people will be like, do you ever wonder if you ever think about death? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like around the holidays? I'm like around all the time.
Around all the time, yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
But in all seriousness, that is just another Christmas, a film that I think will add a lot to your holiday season, and you should watch it.
Yeah.
And if you haven't watched it, I mean, well.
Hey,
it was.
This show is dropping on December 19th.
Spoiler alert.
Supposedly. That should be when this episode's dropping, December 19th. So that means this is our Christmas episode, because the next episode will be after Christmas. This is, out of the 3 movies that we are covering this holiday season, this is the absolute recommend if you need a good uplift or just a reminder of how much these times mean when we have them.
Absolutely. So before we get out of here, I want to thank everybody who has been listening on the podcast feed and everybody who's been watching over on YouTube.
Yes.
Feel free to leave a comment. We will reply to any comments you leave. If you want to email us, you can email us at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. We just got recently contacted by the director of Mercy Christmas.
Yes,
We're
we
hoping
did.
to do something cool on the channel with him very soon.
Absolutely.
In a bizarre turn of events, he's from here.
From around here, yes.
He's from this part of Ohio. Would have never guessed. But we have a lot of cool stuff coming up. We have a lot of awesome episodes coming up. So make sure you're subscribed, like the video, or share the podcast with a friend.
Yep.
And if you want to find out anything else about the program, just go to doyouevenmovie.com.
And follow us at TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or X. We also have social media on Facebook as well. And you can find amazing, hilarious TikToks for your day that we've been cutting.
Amazing, hilarious TikToks.
Amazingly hilarious TikToks.
Wow. Well, Dave is worthless. So, everybody out there, we hope you have a very, very happy holiday, a very Merry Christmas, a very good whatever you're going to do. And if you can't be with somebody special that you love a whole lot, at least be with a film that makes you remember them.
Yes, absolutely.
So on that note, I've been Henrique Couto, and I don't remember who he is, but until
David the Noyer.
But Merry Christmas, you all,
Merry
and to
Christmas,
all,
everybody.
like and subscribe for the love of God, and leave a review. Leave a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts right now.
And bring tissues.
Ew. We're children.